Now, if we move on to Leeds, they're another club, of course, that are worth mentioning in terms of some questions, but positive questions, actually. Huge 4-0 win away at
Worth
Swansea.
mentioning, hang on. Won every game this calendar year.
Well, that's what I was getting to.
Conceded 1 goal in the league. They're going up, by the way.
Yeah, are they? There we go. That's what I was waiting for. That's absolutely what I was worth mentioning. Unbeaten in the league. That's what I was getting to, Paul. That's it. They have been absolutely outstanding. Definitely one of the teams across the EFL to keep an eye on for sure. They have just been superb. Paul, they're definitely going up, are they?
Well, yes, I really hope so. But you look at that league this season. I mean, mid 60 points, you'd be cruising in that. But you look at Southampton, you look at Ipswich, you look at West Brom, you look at other teams there now. Leicester have just set the benchmark. Leicester have the best squad in that league. Leeds come a close second. But you look at the way that other teams are performing. I mean, we always talk about the Championship in a crazy league and a crazy season. You look at the run that Leeds have been on since the start of the year, since Boxing Day. You would almost expect them to be cut clear with Leicester, but they're not because of other teams' performances. Ipswich hit a bump in the road. Southampton lost a 25-game unbeaten run. They're away at West Brom. I think, is it tonight or tomorrow? Tomorrow night, I think they're away at West Brom, which is a huge game for both teams. I'd love to see a draw. It'd be a fantastic result for Leeds. But yeah, Leeds are on, a great run of form at the moment with players playing well, fit. Somerville has been outstanding. Gnonto, there's a lot of talk about him leaving the club, but he's got his place in the team. He's scoring goals. Patrick Bamford back fit, didn't play this weekend. Come out, I think it was about 10, 15 minutes before the start of the game. Pulled out, Pirro came in, got his goal. You look at the strength of the squad that they've got, the togetherness. Daniel Farke, the way he speaks after games, I just like him. There's just something about him that if he's like that in the dressing room, you can understand why players are playing for him. The quality of players that he's got and the defensive record that Leeds have got. I mean, they were so poor last year defensively, but with the recruitment of Joe Rodon and Ampadu dropping into centre-half alongside Rodon has been a masterstroke. And they really have given themselves every opportunity of going up automatically.
I have a question for you, Paul, as a Leeds man. What's your thoughts on Archie Gray? Because I think he's been brilliant this season. And he's 17, 18.
Yeah.
He's amazing. And then there's talk of the Premier League's big boys coming in. If they don't get promoted, he's going to leave, right? Not
necessarily. I mean, the family connections at the club are huge. And also you look at the player's age and you look at his opportunity to develop at such a big club. Absolutely, the biggest European vultures are going to come looking because he is that good. He's played half the season at right back because they've had issues at full back. He's a defensive holding midfielder, but he's such a versatile player. And for the manager to give him his opportunity at the start of the season and to hold down his place throughout the season shows you what type of player he is. If they don't get up this season and that they're in the Championship next year, they're definitely going to have to rebuff a lot of bids for him. A lot of big clubs will be coming looking at him. I know for a fact that they already are. And it's up to Leeds to reward him with the length of contract, give him the assurances that he needs. But then it's also down to the player's desire. You know, he's got a very, very good, strong network around him. The advice that he will be getting will be very, very good. And whatever's best for him, we'll see where he is next season. His value from Leeds' point of view is not going to go down hugely if he stays another season in the Championship with them because he's only going to get better and better. But if they don't go up this year, they've got one hell of a job on keeping hold of him.
Yeah, I think that's a thing for Leeds' squad as well. A lot of their squad is quite young, and they're all obviously playing really well. So if they don't get promoted, that's the kind of profile that a lot of Premier League clubs look at. Someone like Somerville, I think he's 22, something like that. Gnonto's 19, 20. Even Pirro is like 24, 25. So they've got Ampadu is mid-20s as well. Like they've got their whole squad is that mid to early 20s range. And if they don't, I feel like this is kind of if they don't get promoted now, they never will because their squad is going to be weaker next year if they're still in the Championship. There's no way they keep such a strong squad for a second year in the Championship. I think it's similar to Leicester. Leicester as well. They'll lose a lot of top players if they don't get promoted this year. Leicester are almost guaranteed to go up at this point. I can't see them dropping to third and having to fight for a playoff. Maybe second if something crazy happens. But I think that West Brom are in a similar spot. But I think Ipswich weren't meant to be in this race, so they'll probably be okay. But I think Leeds, especially, that with the talent they have in that squad, if they don't go up this year, they're in big trouble. I think because they're going to get picked off by the big clubs.
Yeah, and I think you're both. I think you're both right in saying that. I think it's definitely going to be a challenge if they don't go up. But in terms of this general market, Paul, I mean, we've mentioned one name in there. He's been one of the standouts this season in the Championship. In terms of evaluation, not that Leeds will want to sell him, but what do you think his current market valuation would be?
Depends what league they're in. I mean, if you're selling a Championship player, it's a lot less than selling a Premiership player. And if you're selling a Premiership player, you've then got the opportunity of trying to keep the squad together. It's huge for Leeds to go up this season because, as you say, Rodon's only on loan. They're trying to get the Rodon deal done on a permanent, like we reported on Football Insider, but that'll be 20 odd million. 20 odd million for a Championship side is very, very different for 20 odd million for a Premiership side if you can actually do the deal. There's so much hinges on what league that Leeds are going to be in next year. The futures of Somerville, the future of Nyonto, Ampadu, Rodon. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that Sinisterra is still he's moved to Bournemouth. It's only a loan move, isn't it?
No, so that permanently now.
Has he done permanently? They've done that deal permanently.
Yeah, it's permanent.
So they've also got players that are out on loan as well. That whether they recall them, whether they get back in the Premier League or not. We also put Dan James into that mix, who's having an excellent season. They've got such a good squad, but their valuation of their players varies hugely as to what league they're in. Because listen, if Leeds do go up, Somerville and Nyonto, they're still going to be wanted commodities. They're still going to get bids for those players, but the valuation is just different depending on what league they're in. They can't afford to let them go.
I mean, you mentioned in there Daniel Farke earlier. I guess one question to ask, as Daniel touched on, Leicester are absolutely running away with it. But should Daniel Farke be in the running for Manager of the Year? It's, of course, early days. It's still quite a long way of the season to go. But what are your initial thoughts to that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Championship Manager of the Year for sure. Kieran McKenna was heading that list for a long, long time. And I think he should still be in the mix. I mean, for Ipswich coming up this year, if they have anything above a top 6 finish, it's a phenomenal season for them. Daniel Farke is definitely in that conversation with what he's done, because you look at the turnover of personnel at Ellen Road, you look at what he had to pick up, and we all know it's the hardest league to get back into is the Premier League. So for what he's done there, if he keeps this run up between now and the end of the season, absolutely.
I think he's also dealt with a lot of issues, right? Because like the Jed Spence thing was quite a big issue in terms of, for Championship level anyway, it's rare that you get that kind of issue. He had Nyonto and Sinisterra both refusing to play at the start of the season. One's left and one is now about to sign a new contract. So that's big. The Bamford stuff where he couldn't get a sniff, and now he's first choice striker seemingly again after a good run of form. He's got the best out of Somerville. Dan James was on loan at Fulham last year, couldn't get a game. This year he's one of their most important players. So he's dealt with a lot of issues that you don't usually have to deal with in the Championship. In the Championship, you kind of usually have a set 11 and this is your best squad, and the rest is kind of, you have a group of say 14 or 15 players that you're relying on, and he hasn't. He's used his squad well. That Ilya Gruev came in the summer, barely played in the first 4 months, and now he's playing so well they've put Ampadu to centre back just to keep him in the team. And it's kind of, he's found these solutions. Archie Gray moving to right back is a master stroke as well. Solved issues, but also getting a young player amazing game time, and he's performing. I think he has to be in the running for sure. He has to be.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.